Nearly 1.2 New Yorkers face hunger every year, including 1 in 5 New York City children. And City Harvest is helping to keep and feed individuals who are struggling to put meals on their tables to end the mission to end hunger throughout New York City. They assist the community in food and rescue and distribution, education, and other innovative solutions. And joining us now to tell us a little bit more is Jerome Nathaniel, Associate Director of Policy and Government Relations at City Harvest. And good to have you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
From one more organization to another, but obviously, as I said, during this time of year, all hands are on deck.
Yeah, and I mean, as we heard earlier, this time of year, there's definitely a lot more giving, there's a lot more attention to it, but our trucks are on the road all year round, and hunger takes no break, and it's all year round.
Yeah, so acquaint us a little bit with City Harvest.
Yeah, sure. So City Harvest is actually one of our nation's largest and oldest operating food rescue organizations. So for over 35 years, we've been collecting perfectly edible food from food retailers, farmers markets, and then delivering that free of charge to a network of emergency food programs, which are pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters across the 5 boroughs.
Mm-hmm. And as you continue to do your work, obviously you're finding that more and more is needed.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, during this time of year, there's definitely a lot more attention to hunger. We have our daily news food drive that's really on its 37th year going on now through January 17th, and families are donating. But really, hunger is happening all year round. We see it during the summer when school's out. It's happening in March, April, any time of the year. And unfortunately, there's really a high need, especially here in New York City, where we see that nearly 1.2 million New Yorkers are facing food insecurity.
Yeah. And so you do a lot of you've got boots on the ground. A lot of people are really, looking at this and saying, what can be done? Is it getting any better? How do you look at it? First of all, do you look at it like it's getting better, or, and secondly, what needs to be done?
Yeah, so really it's a number of things, right? So hunger doesn't really happen in a vacuum. Families are balancing their budgets for their food budget with their housing expenses, with their medical expenses, and there's this term that we use called the self-sufficiency standard. So when we're looking at hunger, usually folks are looking at this poverty level, but really the need in New York City, when we're talking about the real cost, it's a lot greater than we think. So when you're looking in, let's say, area in the Bronx where the poverty level, a federal calculation is telling us that 25% of people are facing poverty. When we look at all these other expenses, it's more like 55% of the Bronx that are in need at this time in this year.
55%.
55%, yes.
Wow. How do you anticipate things are going to turn out, given the fact that we know that the government, federal government, and the White House has just made these cuts to SNAP?
Yeah.
A lot of people are really worried about what's going to happen. How do you see this playing out with the cuts to SNAP?
Yeah, so just to take a step back, for those who don't know, SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. And unfortunately, this past year, we saw that the administration has proposed 4 rules that threaten the SNAP program. And the SNAP program is especially important for anti-hunger advocates because for every meal that the Feeding America Food Bank Network is able to provide, SNAP allows families to access 8 meals. So it's that 1-to-8 ratio. So it's a very important program that a lot of families that are going to pantries and soup kitchens rely on. So we're, along with other anti-hunger organizations, are very concerned about the threats that are happening to SNAP and are doing a lot to advocate and really sort of get people to raise the profile of this issue and get our elected officials to stop these harmful threats to the SNAP program.
Do you agree with the proposal about putting people to work in order to get their benefits?
We really have to think about the linguist we use about what's being proposed here. So the rule you're talking about is really imposing time limits for how long a person between the age of 18 and 49 can receive SNAP benefits without documenting that they're able to pursue work, find employment, or do some sort of employment activity. So the short answer is no, we don't agree with the rule that's being proposed, and we activated our emergency food network and New Yorkers to submit comments against this harmful rule. And coincidentally, the rule was actually not included in the Farm Bill, which is this big bipartisan bill that passes every 4 years. It wasn't included in there, and then weeks later, the administration sort of went against everything that all the advocates worked against to put this rule in there. And what it does in New York in particular is it threatens to take away food from 70,000 New Yorkers that are facing barriers to employment. It's not that they don't want to work, it's there's barriers to employment.
Right. And I think that's a common misconception, right? The thought is that people don't want to work. No, there's some real challenges out there.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, 75% of people that are on the SNAP program were employed either the year before or within a year after having SNAP. So we know that when people can work, they're going to pursue that.
Yeah, very, very, very important. So when we talk about food insecurity here in New York, how do you view it? What do you think? What do you think about it right now?
Yeah, so I kind of alluded to it earlier. I think it's really important to realize, as I said, that people aren't balancing their food budget in a vacuum, right? So when you sort of when you take care of your housing expenses, or you're taking care of medical bills, those are really considered like fixed costs. And unfortunately, the first thing that gets cut in a lot of families' budget is their grocery expenses. So families are more likely to maybe skip a meal than they are to, not pay their rent. So you have to sort of look at the bigger picture when we're talking about hunger in New York City.
Yeah, and talk about what you got coming up, because I know you got some great work coming up. The holidays are here as well.
Yeah, so we're currently in the middle of our 37th annual Daily News Food Drive. So it's really a great time of year. We see kids doing can drives at their school, people dropping off food at fire departments, and our goal is to raise 1 million pounds of edible food and donate that to our network of 400 different emergency food programs.
Wow. I'll ask you the same question I asked Beth in terms of how have you seen things change throughout the course of the year?
I would say people are definitely in a lot more of a giving mood during this time of year. But over the course of the year, we have 10,000 volunteers that work with City Harvest annually. They're going to NYCHA developments to help us distribute food at St. Mary's, Mariners Harbor, all over the 5 boroughs. So, we're very fortunate to have a large network of volunteers. But of course, we're always sort of asking people to volunteer all year round and to, give all year round. $1 is able to feed a family for a day. So to always be active, always be looking for opportunities to advocate through our website, cityharvest.org.
And if somebody's thinking about volunteering, what do you tell them and what do they need to know?
Oh, yeah, so you could go to cityharvest.org and click on volunteer. There's a whole lot of different opportunities. If you look at the volunteer calendar and get the orientation, there's opportunities to distribute food at NYCHA developments, to help us sort of sort through different food donations, and even to do cooking classes even at some of our emergency food programs.
Wow, awesome work. Well, Jerome Nathaniel, thanks so much for coming and sharing with us.
Yes.
And certainly
Thank
we'll
you.
continue to follow City Harvest and the great work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, listen now, if you want more information about City Harvest, all you have to do is visit their website, cityharvest.org. We are taking a quick break. We're going to have more shows. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.